Hey, everybody. I guess we're live. Let me see. Hi, 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 hi. It's 6 p.m. Central Time right now. On the money, I do believe. Oh, I'm a minute early. As you're coming in, we're going to be talking about the lady over my shoulder. Do you see her? Let me make sure that we're online. We are online. Some of you are coming in. Let me see if we have any comments so we can see what's going on. But it's 6 p.m. Central. This is a one-off. We don't normally do this on Tuesday at 6 p.m. But Reba Rambo is re-releasing a project called Lady that she released a long time ago, and we're going to talk with her about it. Hey, Carla Atkins, Kylene Hine, Tony Roberts, Alan Willem, Beverly Allison, you're coming in, guys. You're coming in. Hello from Mississippi, Jennifer Boydston. Yeah, all of you coming in. Patty Sanders Bird says, Reba! Well, she's here, and she's got her sidekick with her. Welcome, Reba and Destiny. Hey, guys.
Hey, how are ya?
Good. There's that sweet Destiny. That's your firstborn, isn't it?
That's your goddaughter.
My goddaughter, your firstborn.
Yeah, I'm at her house for Thanksgiving, her and Joel's. So I said, you got to jump in here and join me. So she put her hairy chest thing on. And
She's always so chic.
She's so glamorous. I want to be like her when I grow up.
Right. So, Reba, do you remember 43 years ago when in 1976 I was a sophomore in college? I'd gone to college at 75. You made this project called Lady. And how did it come about? Tell me how it happened.
Let me tell you, it was such a miracle because the Benson Company said, we don't want to do a solo project on Reba. It's not going to sell. We're not going to do it. And God loved Phil Johnson. And many of you know the great Phil Johnson, wonderful producer. He wrote, give them all, give them all, give them all to Jesus. And he wrote, The Day You Wore My Crown. Just an amazing producer. And Phil said, we're going to make them want this record. And I'm like, how are we going to do that?
Yeah.
And so the first thing we recorded was just a really unusual arrangement of Just As I Am, the old hymn. Mm-hmm. And they were like, well, that's pretty good. And God loved it. Phil Johnson went to a bunch of other artists and called in some favors and said, you've got 15 minutes left on the end of your session. Can we cut a track for Reba? You've got 20 minutes left. Can we add some strings? And we started doing that kind of thing with really no budget. Wow. And about 5 songs in, they said, well, maybe there might be something here. So it was just really an incredible time. And I will always love Phil Johnson for that. And, you know, it was at least in the top 3 largest selling albums that year. It came out in 1976.
Well, so, you know, it was the Dove Award. It won a Dove Award.
Won a Dove Award and was nominated for a Grammy. And it was a whole new thing. You have to understand, contemporary Christian music was a whole new thing.
Right. In fact, do you know it was a category? You were the second win in the CCM category, the second year to win the award.
Right. And and I think one reason Benson's hesitated because I'd been with the Rambos since before Moses. Mm-hmm. You know, so everybody kind of had me in that little box. This is the you are Southern. But the thing happened, Mark, I started writing songs, and the songs I was writing were not in the Southern gospel genre. And you know what? My mom and dad were 2 of the biggest fans of what I was doing. They were not against me. They were for me.
Right.
And they were saying, you need to do this project. You need to do it. And, you know, I was laughing today thinking about the song Lady, which is the title song, was my Mary Did You Know?
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you why, because it was a song I wrote to Mary. And one night I was sitting literally by the fire in our house, and I was just imagining her there and what questions I would want to ask her. And then all those years later, yours did a whole lot better than mine.
Well, you also...
Your questions were better than mine.
But you wrote also one of the first praise songs, Lift Him Up.
Yeah.
Lift Him Up. That started a whole movement. That was part of the beginning of that move. The praise movement was that song.
You know, I wrote that standing on the stage. I don't know if you know the story. And I'll just say, real quickly. Had just started doing a few concerts by myself, and I was opening for a little part-time group called Andre Crash and the Disciples. We were touring, and they got snowed in and couldn't make the date. There were right around 3,500, 4,000 people at this concert, sold out, and they couldn't make the concert. And so the sponsor comes to me and says, you've got to do the concert by yourself. Now understand, I had just started out with the Rambos. I was green as grass and sour apples. I didn't know nothing. And so the sponsor gets out and he says, ladies and gentlemen, Andre Crouch, they're snowed in, can't get here, they're in a blizzard, but we've got this little girl, Reba Rambo, and they're all, what's a Rambo? Yeah. And he said, if you're not blessed, if you don't like her afterwards, you can come to me and get your money back. And well, no pressure, right?
Right.
But anyway, I was backstage and I was so bashful and quiet. And I was saying, God, I can't do this. I was so terrified. My friend Judy Gossett had prayed for God to send angels to me. And before the Lord, I looked up, standing in the folds of that curtain backstage. I could see angels as far as I could see, about 11, 12 foot tall each, right next to me. And then I'm like, what do you say to an angel? What do you do? And they're just kind of looking at me, and I'm looking up at them. About that time, the sponsor introduced me, and I went out. And it was like slow motion. I'm going out on stage, and the angels are going with me. But then I realized nobody else can see angels, and it was a hostile crowd. They were just sitting there looking at me, mad, like it was my fault. Andre and them stuck in the snow.
Yeah.
I went out, and I'm going out, and I heard in my heart, just like how we hear the voice of the Lord, I heard him say, "If you'll just lift me up, I'll do the work. Just lift me up." So I walked out on stage, the band's playing the intro to the first song, and I just did this and said, give me a C. And I started singing, lift him up, lift him up, lift the name of Jesus higher. I had never written a spontaneous song in my life.
Right.
Thank goodness somebody had a tape recorder going. And I just started singing it, and the musicians jumped in with me. We had over 300 people accept the Lord that night. It was like God said, I've got you, girl. I've got you. And Holy Spirit showed up. And so that was the first time I'd ever been in that dimension as a writer. I'd ever done. Now, Destiny, she's a worshiper. She kind of goes there. But back in the day, that was just not something you did in 1975, 76. Not me, anyway.
And so you and Phil started putting this project together. Now, you wrote Lady to, I didn't realize till right now, you wrote that to Mary.
Yes.
So that,
Lady sitting by the fire, see you're going to have a child.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
It's been so.
Like that, Marky.
I need to go back and re-listen to that. And because I always thought you were the lady. Well, I guess I was young and ignorant.
That's a nickname. They called me Lady.
Right. Well, you were.
Thinking it was me, but Lady was Mary.
You were our classy lady. Everybody loved Reba. So what other songs are on there? Because let me just tell you why we're talking about this, everybody. Okay. December 13th, they are re-releasing Lady. We haven't even told them yet, right? Re-releasing this project wherever you download your CD, what do you call them now? Your music. Wherever you download your music, Apple, I guess Pandora, I don't know. It's gonna be everywhere.
Yeah.
Lady, Reba Rambo, and you can, they sent me a pre-release. It sounds so much better than because it's not scratchy. If you had the album now, it'd be all scratchy. Because it's 43 years old, but it's so cool to go back and hear that in the memories. Music is like an aroma. You know how you can smell a perfume and it will remind you of someone you knew 30 years ago, or your grandmother, if it's one of those lavendery things. and it'll be a good memory or a bad memory. And music can do that too.
Right. And one of my favorite country songs, Trisha Yearwood sings, it's called The Song Remembers When.
That's
And the
cool.
song "Remembers When," and there's so many people that have been getting in touch with me saying, "Lady was the soundtrack of my high school,
Right.
of my youth, of my dating years,"
Right.
and it was the first time that Mama let them get something. They couldn't have rock and roll, but they could have Lady. And Mark,
Right.
we've been trying for years and years, to get these songs available. I would have done it if I could have, but I don't own the masters. The record label owns them.
So how
So
did this happen?
well, we just kept knocking. We just kept being persistent. Those that are close to me, like Dusty Wells and Tim Dillinger, Dan Childers, they just kept on saying, because there were so many people every week asking, we want this music. So what we're believing, that if people on December 13th, if they will download Lady, if there are enough downloads, see, there are other masters after it. The next one in line is The Lady is a Child.
Oh, yes.
My favorite.
Yeah, you're
Is that
sweet.
your favorite, Destiny?
I think Confessions is my favorite, but there's something about Lady as a Child that resonates with me. Coloring Book, and man, there's so many songs on there that I remember as a child, because
Right.
I remember listening to Lady as a Child first, and then hearing Lady older. And
But you know what, Mark? A lot of it is, it's crazy. You and I, we hear and see things kind of in different ways, but I had a dream that I heard the sound of dominoes falling. And I kept thinking, what is that? And I saw a little finger push one domino, and then they began to fall. And I woke up, and the next day I had the call of, it looks like we're going to be able to get Lady. And I knew immediately that was what the dream was about. Was about a lot of the music. I mean, it's been over 40 years since this music has been available.
Wow.
And so for me, before I get, I'm 68, before I'm...
But you look good.
I would love to be able to share that, with my children,
Sure.
my grandchild Dyson, my future grandchildren. And for some people, I mean, it's just going to be a really nostalgic thing for them. But I'm so grateful that we're doing this, and so I'm just saying, please download it December 13th, because it's going to. I think it's also going to not only affect me. I think there are other artists that their musics are in the archives.
Right.
There becomes a movement to download some of the music like that from the 70s that other artists will have theirs done.
Well, sure. Like, when you said that, I didn't even think about that. Like Dallas Home.
Oh, what a
Like
sweetheart.
Phil Johnson.
Yes.
I'm telling you, Phil
Shepherd's
Johnson.
Johnson.
Philip, what?
Remember Shepherd's, Holmes, and Johnson?
All
That
of
was
that.
Tim Shepherd, Dallas Home, and Phil Johnson,
Yeah.
which was amazing.
But Phil's
Where's
solo record
Oh, I know.
had The Day He Wore My Crown on it.
I know.
Which I remember I was 19 years old listening to that song in college, his CD, and I was on my back in my dorm listening, and the tears, I remember them falling down the sides of my face and puddling in my ears, and I don't even know why I remember that, but that song, oh my gosh, those songs need to be remembered.
I know. And on December 13th at 3 p.m. Central, we're going to do a live Facebook on the Reba Facebook, and Phil's going to be there with me.
Okay, Dusty Wells, I know you're watching. You need to help me to remember so I can share that. When are y'all doing that? The release date?
December 13th. It's a Friday.
Okay.
At 3 p.m. Central.
All right.
We're going to be doing a live Facebook. And I just want there to be, first of all, Phil Johnson's work, he's never received the accolades to me that he should have as a producer and as a writer. I mean, if you don't do it for me, do it for Phil. And there's some other great musicians that are on that project. Songs, well, that's where the Land of Ooze and Oz and Somewhere of the Rainbow Lady project. I remember going to Benson saying I want to do a song that's a parody about the Wizard of Oz, but it's how we receive Christ, that we get a new mind, a new heart, where we don't have fear. And they're looking at me like I'm smoking something weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, but somehow when the song came together, and then we went into Somewhere of the Rainbow, they're like, oh, I think I get it now. They were a little slow, but they finally came
It was
around.
artsy. You've always been artsy. You've always
well,
been, and then you birthed Destiny, who did that apple.
here's the girl. Here's the girl.
That apple didn't fall far from the tree. But then both of you came from the big Dottie Rambo tree. I mean, y'all had no hope of being anything but artistic and brilliant and great writers and thinkers and lovers of God. And I love that.
And you know what? I love it too that Destiny is writing such amazing music. She's working on a new project, and I am so thrilled for what she's doing. I know Mama and Dad are cheering her on from the balcony because there's nothing greater than having your children exceed you. I've always said if my ceiling was not her floor, then I failed. So I see. Yeah, think about that, Mark.
Yeah.
My ceiling is her floor.
Got it.
And,
I'd have it backwards. I'd know. My floor's her ceiling, bless God. I'd mess it up.
This isn't about me though. This is about
I
Lady.
know, but it is about Lady. But you know what? You can't have that without going up. The legend, Mother wrote, the legend continues.
Oh yeah,
It really does. The legend continues.
What other songs are on there? Let's think about it. Do you have the?
I've got the list.
And Given Up Now, which was such
So
a fun.
good.
It was, it was labeled disco back then. That
yeah.
was just.
The Sweet Jesus Peace.
Sweet Jesus Peace is the only song I ever wrote on the piano.
Oh really?
I was trying to work with a couple of composers, and I had the melody, and I was trying to tell them what I wanted, and they were looking at me like a cow at a Newgate, looking like this. And so finally, I don't play piano, but I just went over one day and said, I'm going to figure this out myself, and I'll keep all the royalties for myself.
So you wrote the words and the music.
So I wrote,
Now, how many songs have you done that on? Have you written all of it?
I've written, back in the day, I used to write on the guitar a lot.
So you'd write words
for a long, long time.
and
But I
music.
think I may be doing a little bit more. Why not? Why not? But I've been blessed to write with so many great composers, and I do love that.
Oh, yeah.
That's for everybody. What else is on there, Destiny?
Velvet Sunshine Morning.
Oh yeah.
The thing I love about songs like that and about this whole project, and I'm just going to brag on her for a little bit.
Do it.
There's so many new projects, especially in the singer-songwriter world and the alternative kind of music scene, that try to write songs that sound like this. That they try to have that nostalgic, authentic, just organic quality to it, and they're trying to recreate a sound that's already been created. So I think this is not gonna just like appeal to people who nostalgically remember it from their early years. It's gonna appeal to a whole new audience of people who realize like this is the root of where some of the music that they love from today, where it's actually coming from,
That's so
and what
sweet,
it's been
Debbie.
inspired by.
Thank you.
Well, she's always been a hero of mine.
Well,
I
and
mean-
I know you were a much bigger Rambo fan. And,
Well, I
you know,
was, but I'm
it's
such a-
apples and oranges.
Yeah,
They're
but I
both
was a
against-
fan of Reba, and of course I was a fan of Dottie individually, and Buck. I had Buck's solo record. I thought
Yeah.
Buck was a great singer too. He blended like flour in a cake.
Yeah.
He was a
That
great
was the glue
blender.
that held the Rambo sound together.
He really was.
That
He was.
that pulled it together. But I love it that we can all do what we do, just like you. You're not just limited. I think for a long time people put you in the comedy box. This is who you were. And then you do your love song project, and everybody's going, "Oh my goodness, he's a crooner." He is. No, you really are. And I've told Destiny this. You sing better today than I think you ever have.
Well,
But your
thank
voice matured along with the rest of you, which was kind of neat.
Well, took me a long time to grow up, but at 61 you ought to be settling down. So back to the project. Lady, December 13th. If you're just tuning in, December 13th, you'll be able to download Lady. It's behind me. This project was released 43 years ago on vinyl and 8-track. I had both of them. And it was a Dove Award winning album. It was a revolutionary album in contemporary Christian music because it really helped define and form contemporary Christian music. Really, you were one of the grandmothers. How do you like that word? Grandmothers of that of CCM, the mothers of CCM. You really were.
Well, you're very, very sweet. But you know what? I love this music, and I love it today. You know, some people my age are like, oh, you know, what these kids are doing. Not me. I've learned, my grandpa Rambo, who you met, used to say the only tune a devil owns is a spit tune.
I love that.
But you know, I think that to be for all of us to grow, to change, to evolve. But there is nothing like, you know what, it's the music that influenced me. Go back to the James Taylor, the Carole King tapestries. Those kinds of music, that kind of music was influencing me. And so naturally from the things that I was listening to, it came out, but my stories came out, my music, my songs. And now to see another generation, you know, it's fun to watch it. And it's fun to work with young people that are open. And so many that are open to what, first of all, they're open to the movement of the Spirit of God.
Well, I'm looking at all these comments. Let me just say, Dallas Pebbles, yes, it will be available on Apple Music. If you have any questions for Reba, well, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, Reba, but if y'all have any questions, I'm going to look at these comments while they're, because I know you can't see them. But,
I'm looking at a green screen looking at you.
I know. I've got a green screen, and I've got Reba. You're going to love this when you see this, because it's your beautiful face over my shoulder, like God looking over your shoulder in a wig. But anyway, let's see. My favorite was Donnie and Reba singing "I See Him in You" from back in the day. That was great too.
Yeah, that was actually a song written by Shirley Lee Lucas. And we kind of took it and revamped it and worked it, but that's one of my favorites.
I see Jesus in your eyes, and it makes me love him. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love that.
And that's a great song.
They're just saying so many nice things about you, Reba.
Oh, good.
Mark Russell.
It's not bad to lead them real quick.
So Ruth Munford, you're sweet, Ruth. She said Mark Lowry is so full of God. If a mosquito bites him, it'll go away singing "There's power in the blood." That's funny, Ruth. I hope that's true. I doubt it, probably. Hi, Reba. Do you ever come? Someone wants to know why did the comments go by so fast? Do you ever come to Oklahoma? Stidman Family Gospel wants to know.
Well, you know, this past year, and I'll just say this and leave it, it's been the toughest year of my life, you know, going through the divorce. And so I've been pretty quiet for a year and getting myself healed and seeing a great Christian therapist and had great friends that have circled the prayer wagons around me. But it won't be too long before I'll start doing some things. But I knew I had to get whole and still doing that and still being quiet. But I'm writing and so that's been good. But I tell you, like Destiny and Joel, I've been in their home so much, and they have poured into me, and so it's been a good healing time. But it won't be long before I'll be ready to go do some stuff. If you were singing, I'd jump on a bus with you or a plane.
Yeah, I'm not though. And let's see, Ernie Lansford wants to know, will it be on vinyl? The masters are analog tape. Why not vinyl re-release? Vinyl is making a comeback, especially analog mastered vinyl. Well, I'm sure it would be if this takes off.
Well, if this takes off, it's up to them.
Yeah.
It's up to those of you
It's up to who? The owner? Who owns these?
The Provident, which was Benson, they own it. If it was up to me, I'd already be doing it. But right. I don't own the masters. But if there's enough, it's like, you know, if there's enough buzz on it, there's enough demand, and people are saying, we want this, and you say, I want it by downloading it on December 13th. If you do that, I bet you that they can make some vinyl real quick. Yeah. And wouldn't that be fun, Mark?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
It would be great.
So download it on the 13th, y'all. Let's make a big deal out of this. And for those of you who weren't around 43 years ago, it will be a good history lesson in where CCM started, if you care about that sort of thing. Plus, it's just good music. Lift him up, lift him up, lift the name of Jesus higher. I mean, what could be better than that?
That's right. That's right.
I will say, guys download music from different places.
Wait, you can't.
And might be wondering
we had
where
a
the
belch.
to download it from.
We had an internet belch. Say that all over again.
Okay. Some people download music from different places, and you might be wondering where the best place to download it is if you have multiple options. I was told today that if enough people download it on iTunes, it'll start charting in the category. And that's one of the biggest ways to get the label's attention to see that it's doing well, is if we can get it to chart on the iTunes download list. So if you have multiple options to download from and you're trying to pick one, let's all swarm iTunes and get it to chart so that the label pays attention.
Yes, let's do that. Okay, I did not know that. That is wonderful news to know.
Yeah. And something new myself.
But I would have done that anyway.
So
I always go there. That's the first place I go.
You were talking about the sound. You know, one of my sweet chosen sons, Greg Hand, remixed. He did the whole thing of Lady. And it I like you said, I think it sounds better than it did in 1976. It sounds so great. So if you're wondering, am I going to get some scratchy mess that sounds horrible? No, it sounds amazing. And I'm so grateful for Greg Hand doing that for his mama here. But it really sounds wonderful, which makes me so happy.
That is great. I'm just looking at some of the comments and if there's any more questions. Will it be on Amazon Music? It will be. It'll be everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere you can
download music.
Yeah, wherever you can download music. Oh, someone's watching in Brazil. Hello, Brazil.
Oh.
I love this. I love that, like Mondays with Mark, people are watching in Peru, Australia.
That's
I mean,
so great.
What a great time to be alive and be old, where you can do this from your bedroom /office/studio. And don't even have to leave the house. Every old person should have a YouTube channel and give their advice and opinions. And if nobody sees it, who cares? You've left it on the earth. Somebody will stumble across it.
The first time I met you, and you were about 11.
Yeah.
We didn't even have a thought in our mind. First of all, about computers, there was not even a thought. You're so right now. What we can do that I can sit in Destiny's dining room in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yes.
You are in your room there in Houston,
Texas.
And people in Brazil are watching us. Hello.
I know. In Peru, in Australia, in England, and they get up at some get up at 1 a.m. where they live because they don't want to miss the live. They like it live, which I'm just like that. If something's live, I don't want to watch the tape later. I want to see it while it's happening, Anyway, so, okay, let's see. What else? Reba, you were so ahead of your time. Everyone still loved this project. Timeless music and lyrics. Can't wait. That's from Deborah Cook Jones. It will be on Spotify, Kim I asked. December 13th, iTunes, Sending Love. That's from Clay Ray West. You'll see all this when you watch it back later. And over on Periscope, I tried iTunes just too early. Yeah, it's too early. It's not up there till December 13th. Mm-hmm. And Amy Barrick wants me to marry her. Well, Amy, be careful what you pray for. I've never hated any woman enough to marry them. Hi from Abingdon, Virginia. Everybody's saying hi. That's Charlie Fugate. Love you, Reba. I love your mama. Everybody loved your mama, Reba. Let's see if there's unfrozen. Thank goodness. Hi, Mark. I'm just checking to see if there's any more questions for Reba. Oh, what's your favorite? This is good. What's your favorite song on this project, or is there one? It's like asking what's your favorite child.
Right. That is like asking what's your favorite child.
Destiny.
You know what? I love Land of Ooze and Oz because I know how I wrote that, the revelation, if you will, that came to me. As a young girl, I got the concept that on The Wizard of Oz, my favorite stories, that, everybody wants a new heart and everybody needs a new mind and everybody wants to have courage. So I love that. And of course, Somewhere Over the Rainbow is my favorite all-time song. So I love that. But there's a song in there called Shepherd's Song. And it's the shepherd singing. And those songs are tricky to write when you're writing from the standpoint of God.
Yeah.
But it's so precious and so gentle. And I've read so many letters and comments, Mark, where people had wandered from their relationship with the Lord. I mean, where can you go to get away from Him, really?
Right.
They wandered away and heard that song.
Where is He not?
Yeah, where is He not? If you make your bed in hell, hello, He's there.
Right.
He'll rip the place apart because He loves you that much.
I love that.
but Shepherd's Song, there was such a tenderness about it, and the way that I wrote it, I knew it was something bigger than me. But it's been one of those holy sneaky songs that people have played it and that have felt like they could never get back with the Lord, and they heard His heart in Shepherd's Song, and have reconnected with the Lord, which that's thrilling to me.
Yeah.
As a writer, even more so than as a singer. And you know what that's like. You know what it is when one of your songs touches somebody and has an impact on their lives.
Or one of your videos that you really didn't like that well, like me. I have one particular video that I hate. It's a solo video. I'm not going to tell you which one, but I've had more people come and said they loved that video, and then I'm thinking, gosh, I wish I did.
Yeah.
You know, I got the gospel in it. I always got, you know what? I was always good about getting the gospel as I understood it at that time.
Yeah.
You know, I was giving all the light I had,
Right.
and walking in all the light I had, and but
isn't that like a sermon too, Mark? I mean, have you been sitting in a church and maybe you're going, the preacher ain't all of that. Maybe it's not really touching me today. And you look 2 rows down and somebody's sitting there sobbing like, oh, this is changing my life. Yeah. And a lot of that is the way we hear. Jesus would say,
you're so right. That's what I say about all those new praise songs that I don't understand. I started watching the young people.
Yeah.
And they're getting it.
Exactly.
And so I would be blessed because I would see the tears flowing down their eyes, and I think, oh man, I need to watch them instead of the pitiful lyrics on the screens.
I'm with you, brother. But it's true, and so much of it is it's the language that it speaks. And there have been times that this year I've been so broken, especially for the first 6 months of this year. When you're so broken, you don't have to do a whole lot, and I'm sitting and I'd be going, and just because I'm wide open.
Right.
But then when you kind of get healed, sometimes you also can get hardened if you're not careful.
Yeah, scab can grow.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So sometimes it's just the openness of someone to hear the Lord.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're doing good.
I am doing good.
And I'm glad Donnie's doing good.
Yes,
and I'm glad your kids are doing good.
They are. They're wonderful. They're doing all of them.
And I'm glad December 13th we'll be able to download Lady.
Yeah.
December 13th, everybody. Anything you want to say as we close?
Well, I just want to, first of all, I need to say this. I want to say thank you to my little brother, Mark Lowry. When my world blew up last December 27th, I called you, and what you said was, what do you need? What do you need? How can I be there? How can I help? And you have no idea, little bro, what that meant. And for every day, for weeks and weeks and weeks, I talked to you and Dusty Wells and my kiddos, and my sis Jeannie. And there were a handful, because everybody didn't need to know, but those that were, my little circle. But you have been there for me. You've let me come stay there, at the Casa. And it's been wonderful. But, you find out who your real friends and your family are. And I just want to say thank you for just always being there. And I promise you I will always be there for you too, no matter what.
Well, I know that, and I've loved you a long time, but not near as long as I will. Because we got eternity to grow and love. And just think, I think in heaven we'll keep learning. And we'll keep growing. And God will get more and more lovely and beautiful.
That's right. He's an ever-increasing God. God keeps learning and growing. Now think about that one.
Learning, I have a problem with. Increasing, does it really say that? Ever-increasing?
Yeah, he's ever-increasing in knowledge. Huh. He ever is. Oh, wow. I know that's hard for us to even imagine.
Yeah.
And just think about it. If our God's always growing, we're going to be growing and learning.
Well, I hope so, because I like it. I love the joy of discovery. It is my favorite thing. Okay, I love you, and I'm going to sign off now, off of the YouTube and stuff. Bye, everybody. I will see you Monday night for our Christmas show. Monday night, Bubba will be here. Vincent will be here. Mary Griffin will be here. Of course, Colleen will be here. And I don't know if Reba, if you ought to come on down for that. That's going to be a fun night. I love you guys. Good night.
Love you.